NU5D, cloud node.
Connected to
K5RS repeater. Leander, Texas. K5CRA, repeater. CQ. This is K5CRA. Hearing no emergency or priority communications, the Five Hills 325 net is now declared open. This net meets weekdays at 3 p.m. and is sponsored by the K5CRA, Cove Repeater Association, from Copperas, Cove, Texas. Visit K5CRA.org or K5CRA@groups.io for more information. Several area repeater stations along with Echolink and All-Star-Link are networked, so please allow a brief pause between transmissions. All licensed radio amateurs are welcome and invited to participate. This is a directed net. The purpose of this net is to promote radio activity, help one another by elmering, and promote goodwill and fellowship among radio amateurs by being the friendliest net in Texas. We will now observe a moment of radio silence, remembering those in our community who may be undergoing hardships, and to recognize the many unseen heroes who are there in our times of need. This is a directed net. Stations will be asked to check in using ITU phonetics, slowly, with their name, location, and traffic. After check-ins to the net have come to a close, I will acknowledge those stations heard and ask for any further check-ins or any call I may have missed. You may use NetLogger via the Internet to see if you are checked into the net. I will first recognize any first-time check-ins and stations with traffic for the net and then ask for comments from those stations checked into the net. After comments, there will be an opportunity for late check-ins to be recognized. After check-ins and comments, the net will continue to be directed and time will be given for any questions, topics of discussion or elmering, and rechecks. Stations wishing to join the 5 Hills 325 net, please come now.
This is November 3 X-Ray, Uniform Sierra, Gene and Colleen. This is Kilo Charlie 9, Quebec Hotel Whiskey, Gino in Copperas Cove, no traffic.
This is Alpha Delta 5 Sierra Kilo, Bud and Leroy, no traffic.
This is K5CRA, Steve at the mic, Roger KD6UY, Bruce, sorry about that. Hot fives are hard habits to break. AG5UQ, KD5UEW, K5OTO, KA5QKL, KD5FKY, KG5QNI, WW4DAD, N1MAK, W5CSM, N3XUS, and KC9QHW, and 85SK. Any other stations wishing to join the net? Come now, please. Over.
This is Kilo India 5, Zulu Tango India, Chris in Harker Heights, standing by.
This is Whiskey Delta 4, Romeo, November Romeo, Brady and Crawford.
This is K5CRA, Steve at the mic, Roger KI5ZTI, and WD4RNR. Any other stations wishing to check in to the 5 Hills 325 net? And by the way, the question of the day deals with, have you played with software-defined radio, specifically, though, the RTL SDR? And number two, weather stations, a lot of them broadcast their information remotely on 433 megahertz. And I understand there's software and a means to intercept the transmissions from your outdoor weather station, and wonder if anyone has played with that or any experiences related to weather stations, since we've had a little bit of weather in the last little bit. That said, any other stations wishing to join the 5 Hills net? Come now, please. Over.
And 5 NIR, short timer, no traffic, closing station.
Roger, N5NIR, Well, that's a pretty good bunch to get started with. Glad to have you with us, Paul, and the rest of the folks on the net. By the way, we are live on YouTube, live streaming to YouTube, so you can go to YouTube and look up the Cove Repeater Association and see who's checked in on NetLogger and watch the activity on the net. That being said, go ahead and pick up Mr. Bruce, KD6UY. Welcome aboard. Anything you'd like to share with weather stations, RTL, SDR, and maybe if you've ever played with decoding the transmissions from weather stations. That said, go ahead and pick him up, Bruce. Over.
Thank you, Steve. It's KD6UY in Cove at the usual place at the usual time here outside the school where it's quiet, no kids straining to be released yet. And the answer to your questions, the topics of the day is none of the above. I never really played around with any of the SDR stuff. And I'm aware of weather stations, but I've never had one. The thing that always gets me is, in order to get accurate wind measurements, you got to have the anemometer or whatever you call that up at, I think, 30 feet. And I'm surrounded by trees, and I wouldn't get an accurate measurement. So, being I wouldn't get an accurate measurement, I wouldn't want to look at it. So that's prevented me from getting into weather stations for ever since I've been here. So sorry, can't help with that one. Back to you, KD6UI.
K5CRA, repeater.
Oh, God, the reason I am laughing, the usual, the first thing ran across my mind, and give you an idea of how twisted the net facilitator is. The first thing ran across my mind was Tom Jones and Nothing Unusual, and that kind of dates me a little bit anyhow. Appreciate you being with us, and well, being on the mountaintop there, you've got a head start on the 30-foot, but I do understand. Thank you for being with us, and over to our Commandant, leader, and also I'm so grateful for your gracious net logging today. With your comments for the net, over.
Thank you, Steve. And as far as weather stations and the SDR, I haven't messed with them much, but weather stations I'm kind of interested, but I've got a neighbor 2 doors down that's got one, and I can always go to Kogo. He's my backup on that. He's got one. So, no, I don't have one. Haven't messed with it. Back to you, Steve.
Oh, real fine. I guess Tony, WB5TTY, about a year ago put out on the Cove K5CRA groups.io about an Accurite IRIS model. They had them on sale for $119, so I picked up one. And the neighbor 2 houses down, if their weather station is broadcasting remote wireless station back to the house, there's a way to pick that up, and you could actually be reading their weather station without having to buy the thing. So that's for pirating their weather station. So, and RTL SDR is a little $29 job you buy off of Amazon or other places, and it just plugs into the SDR USB port on a computer, not radio. Download some free software, and you can monitor just like a scanning receiver or whatever. So that's kind of the background on the thing there. Appreciate it, Mr. Cliff. And over to KD5UEW. Howdy, Bill. Welcome aboard, and your thoughts for the net. Over.
K5UEW, Bill here. I appreciate you letting me come in. I appreciate the net you're calling. I have no clue about the weather or the digital part of that. Anyway, I appreciate the net. K5UEW.
Well, I appreciate you being one of the packet warriors different people check, test, verify our WinLink nodes. And Bill is one of the people that goes out once a week just to make sure they're still alive. So grateful for that. Mr. Buddy, good to have you with us all the way from out west in Lampasas. K5OTO, your turn.
Oh, good afternoon, Steve. Unfortunately, I missed the question. I had a phone call about the time you were explaining that, so if you could throw me the short real quick, I'll answer you back.
Certainly, short and sweet. There are some SDR receivers called an RTL-STR. They're $30 range off of Amazon. In some third world countries, these receivers were used as a antenna top or pole mounted converter hooked to the antenna, and they shoot the TV signal down USB to a receiver. Mass produced and very, very modest in price, so they've hit the ham market as a means of an SDR receiver. Add to that free software package. There are a number. I use SDR Sharp, but there are several others. And with that, you could pick up, decode other people's weather stations and tell what's going on that way, or any other signal. And you can even decode P25 or Fusion or so. So the question was if you've messed with any of that or your experiences. Back to you, Buddy, over.
Okay, yeah, I actually have two of the RTL SDR dongles. I've played with them very limited. When I was traveling quite a bit, I used them in the hotel room. I took one of those great big discone scanner antennas and a piece of wood and a piece of PVC pipe and propped them up in the hotel rooms and used them to scan all the ham bands and some of the local police frequencies and fire and emergency. I think they're pretty neat, especially for the $20-30, you know. Haven't played with them in quite some time, but still have them in the drawer over there. But quite the neat little dude for sure. K5OTO. Thanks for doing the net.
I just appreciate your participation. And if you're using SDR Sharp, and there are many other virtual receivers, you don't actually have to even have the dongle. Mine is on the internet, and I'll put the address on the chat box. So also Glenn, KD5DGA there in Killeen, has one online, and you can actually tap into their receivers over the internet. So instead of having the RTL SDR plugged into your USB port, go online and you can look at Glenn's or mine if you want to. And let you listen to radio stations 1,000 miles away or in another country, whatever floats your boat without having to invest a whole lot. So that's kind of the gist of things. And over to our good friend, Mr. Jim Judd, James Judd, K5CRA. Pick him up, James. Over.
Well, howdy there, Steve, and everybody else on the net. Just enjoying the outside today. It's beautiful. I don't do much SDR. Just never really got interested in it. But I do. I have a couple weather stations. I got this little free program. It's called My Weather Stations, and with that, I'm able to look at any weather station that's around the area. With as long as it's on the the same 400 megahertz in that area. So I've got two of them right now that are set up. I can look at my neighbors, but I never do. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. The comment you made a while ago about the wind speed, you know, you can look outside. Well, the trees are blowing. Yeah, the wind. Okay, it's blowing, but I can tell the direction. That's about it. Anyway, back to you, Steve. K5CRA.
I appreciate it, James. Reminds me of the weather station that consists of a string and a rock. It depends on how much accuracy and how much information. Thank you for being with us. And over to Mr. James, KD5FKY. Howdy, welcome aboard. Your thoughts for the net, over.
Yeah, Steve, good job on the net. Boy, there's so many things I want that I can't afford just yet. But I will have. Hey, why don't you send me, shoot me that link you're talking about where you can hook up and listen on another link on the SDR stuff. I'd like to look at that. As well, I shot a link over to Bill for the Amazon thing. That's pretty neat. But it looks like it's a very good possibility I might be getting a low power QRP radio that I might be able to use for field day. So I'm looking at that, and the wife and all, they're conspiring about getting me one. So we're just kind of looking at that, seeing if I could hook up some kind of I guess I timed out. But anyway, it's really very interesting. And 73 to all. Here's KD5FKY.
Fine business on up-and-coming radio. I know you'll have a lot of fun with that. And right now I'm trying to do two things at once, and I'm not too good at multitasking, but type in the web address and such for my SDR receiver and getting that all typed in. By the way, while I've got the trigger down, I will mention that we've also, a few of us, W5HK and others have been, and QKL, have been playing with Vera C on 40 meters, 20 watts of power, and can't even hear the signal, but it prints just fine. So that's another thing to play with. A lot of different ways to spend your time. Anyhow, thank you for being with us, James. And over to KG5QNI, the $6 million steel-belted man. I hope you're well and glad to have you with us. Jim, go ahead.
This is KG5QNI. You made me laugh, Steve. Always good to hear you. Well, I'd love to have a radio, weather station, rather. But I had a weather radio, and it would beep furiously during a thunderstorm, and we couldn't defeat the beep, so we disconnected it finally. I really depend on Code Red for emergency information on weather. But it would be lovely to have an SDR or something like that that I could consult for approaching storms, you know, when they're 20 miles off. Well, that's about it for me. It's always good to hear you, Steve. Back to you, Net Control, KG5QNI.
K5CRA.
I sincerely hope that making you laugh didn't hurt your wounded area. I had another friend that had a minor surgery done a lot lower down, and popcorn sure wasn't his friend. But we won't go there. Anyhow, glad to have you with us this evening. And over to WW4DAD, 2 whiskeys for Dad. How about it, Dale?
Well, top of the afternoon, everybody. WW4DAD here. I hope I'm coming in clear. I'm using the antenna that 85 UQ has supplied for me, and the coax. So I'll pause to make sure that I'm coming through all right.
There was a slight bit of chatter, but so far so good. Go ahead, Dale.
Okay. Well, I have to admit I can hear great, so I'm hoping I can transmit as well as I hear. But
with regards to the topic of the day, I am interested in SDR. In fact, I'm standing by for the ability to kind of tap into your SDR at some point. So I guess we can do that over email. And I did have some questions about it for the net and everybody that may know. Is there such thing as an SDR transceiver where I can actually transceive with the SDR, even if it's just a couple watts or something? Or is that only read-only mode, so to speak?
To answer your question, and we'll save that for the rag sheet part of the net, but yes, and hams use remote ham, and there are a number of stations available via internet. And I'm not talking a little 2-watt station, I'm talking a full power, control the rotor, linear amplifier stations that you can access via internet, provided the owner gives you the access credentials. So yeah, that kind of stuff is out there. We'll take that up further. Anything more before we turn it over to Jeff? Go ahead, Dale.
Okay, that's great to know. I bumped up the power a little bit. Hopefully it comes in better. If not, no change either way. To say thanks, sincerely thanks for running the net and for everyone coming together once again to make this a worthwhile endeavor. So I'll pass it back to Net Control, to Whiskey for Dad. Back to you.
Well, you are the net. The folks check in. I'm just the guy that does the shuffling. So appreciate you being with us. And over to Mr. Jeff, N1MAK. Glad to have you with us. Your thoughts for the net this afternoon. Over.
This is November 1 Mike Alpha Kilo, Jeff over here in Lampasas. I've been using an SDR since before I got my ham radio license back in the day, and here soon. You can listen to ADS-B, which is the positioning for airplanes going overhead with whatever is in RF earshot range of whatever antenna you happen to have hooked up to your SDR. I have a RTL SDR dongle and a disc cone shoved in the attic, so I can do that and listen to the radio, listen to whatever else is out there on almost any frequency you can think of. They're lots of fun and pretty cheap entertainment. Back to you, Steve.
Thank you, Jeff. Mine is on a 40-foot tower disc cone off the side and rigid line, I think half-inch line from the antenna down to the receiver, and a little RTL SDR. Also have a SDR Play RSP2 for HF, which is a really neat HF receiver, and I've used it for diversity along with a regular HF radio, so let you listen to other stuff. That said, over to N3XUS. Gene, I love your melodious voice. Glad to have you with us on the net this afternoon. Your thoughts, over.
Good afternoon, everybody on the net. This is November 3 X-Ray Uniform Sierra, enjoying this beautiful afternoon weather. It wasn't such this morning, but however, we got over it. I am out in the shack, filling around with some, getting some stuff set up for APRS, one of my many endeavors that slaps me in the face sometimes. In regards to the questions, I have a few SWR dongles, and I've tried WinLink Express, and for the life of me, I have nothing but problems with them. But I am not giving up. Other than that, I wish everybody a great day. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy each other. This is November 3 X-Ray Uniform Sierra, Gene and Colleen, clearing the net.
Never Say Die, 73, no, CQ, no, 73. 73 magazine, Wayne Green, N2 NSD, Never Say Die. kind of what your comment reminded me of. By the way, hidden treasure on 145030, the K5CRA-10 node, WinLink node, and in Belton, NU5D12 and Gatesville NU5D10. All three of those are pretty well within reach of you. And as long as, in addition to being a standard digifeeder with digi mailbox, they are also APRS nodes. So typically we use 145.390, 144.390, but you get the same thing for the same price. It doesn't cost any extra for the Digi to serve as APRS, so that's kind of an alternative way to get into the APRS network. That said, over to W5CSM. Glad to have you with us, Dave. I know you're working, but if you're there, we'd sure like to hear from you. Over.
Kind of a slow day here. RTL SDR, I'm aware of it. I was not aware that you could pull in weather station info from your neighbors, so I guess you're only limited by your imagination. Yeah, I had an Accurate machine for about 3 years, and a hailstorm took it out. And other weather station I have right now is Tempest by WeatherFlow. No moving parts, kind of interesting. If you're bored, look it up. But it does require the internet. I can get all the information I need on my smartphone or my computer from just about anywhere. That's about it for today. Thanks for running the net, Steve. Back to net control from W5CSM.
Thank you, Dave. Sure appreciate you being with us. Years ago, I took some training for our EDAX, when we had EDAX public safety radio system. The training was held in Belton. It was for people all over the U.S. I met a guy named Greg Spivey, worked for Power Company out of Hudson, Florida. We stayed in touch. Yesterday, we chatted about weather stations and told me that you could not only receive your neighbor's wireless, but also a free network server. So you could take yours and several others and feed them to a server and look at other people's stuff over the net. So kind of a neat thing. I'm just now getting my feet wet in it. Thank you for being with us. And over to KC9QHW. Gino, sure glad to hear you this afternoon. What will you allow? Over. And not hearing Gino, over to 85SK. Mr. Bud, what's the voice of Leroy got to allow for this afternoon? This is K5CRA. Steve at the mic. Go ahead, Bud.
Good afternoon, Steve and Annette. This is 85SK. Well, I have a small weather station, and the outside unit is set up on a 10-foot piece of PVC pipe. And I'm going to have to get out there and change the back. It'll register. And it gives me an idea of what's going on. And as far as the dongles, I don't have one yet. Right now I've got some other things I'm trying to do, but I'll probably get one of them and hook it up to an antenna just to play with it. At least maybe this time I won't get in trouble like when my buddy on another ship about 100 yards away decided nobody used the UHF frequency, so we would. Or they didn't use the infrared, and we decided we would, so I can play with this other stuff without getting in trouble. And that is about it, except I can't tell which way spring is sprung. Is it going springing forward or springing backwards? Back to net control. SK.
I was talking with Ham in South America, and their winter time is coming, so just depends on which hemisphere you're into, I suppose. Yeah, it's really amazing, the little inexpensive thing And the radio is actually a virtual radio, goes on your PC. Windows or Linux both have virtual radios available. They're all free. And you can even get a decoder to pick up P25 or DMR or Fusion. So you can listen to all of this stuff for very little, almost no money. And like I say, you can buy your own, or you can go on the net and listen to somebody else's. I can actually dial in and go to Glenn's receiver in Killeen, change frequency, want to spin the dial, whatever I'd like to do. So the decoding all is done on my end, but the radio is over remote. So kind of some neat stuff to play with. Another way to spend your time. One more time for Gino. I passed over you. Maybe you made it back. KC9QHW, are you with us? Over. He may have gotten called away, or who knows. K5CRA. Chris, I'm sorry I missed you. I photographed and put online a lot of the folks at the coffee last Thursday, and that's on YouTube. But I didn't get a chance to say hi to you or put you on YouTube, so we'll make amends next time. Glad to have you with us. Your thoughts for the net, over.
This is K5CRA. Thanks for that, Steve. You know, I just sit around and take in all of the information you guys put out. I think about 3% sticks, but I'm working on that. Hopefully we'll be there. I hope this Thursday you'll let me know after this. I'm looking into a weather station right now, but and SDR, man, I got so much to learn. I don't even know where to begin sometimes, but I think SDR might be something further down the road for me. I guess if I had to put stuff in order here, I would probably look at the I'm looking at an ambient weather station, the WS2902, which looks pretty good. It's getting a good rating, so might jump in on that. Hopefully we'll get some weather so we can use it. Maybe some rain too, but thanks, Steve. Anyways, are we going to be meeting at Thursday? This is K5ZTI standing by.
This is K5CRA with Steve at the mic. Coffee on Thursday, Wednesday, I believe, here in Gatesville at the American Legion Hall, and Whataburger in Temple. Get on the local repeaters, and I'm sure you'll pick up information, who, where, what, and when. The Cove tailgate sale, I believe, and I got in trouble last time because I was not wrong on the date, but I believe it'll be this coming Saturday, and maybe we'll put something on the Groups IO page. So far there hadn't, other than the agenda, but we'll get something out on there so y'all can tell what's going on, where to, and so on and so forth. And of course, tonight we have the Texas statewide DMR net on Seabridge, 3148 at 7:30. Cliff has his Simplex net on 146.55 FM, Simplex out of Killeen, and the McLennan County Aries meets at 8 o'clock here on this. And I think the Temple Club also has a net this evening, so a lot of activities this evening. That being said, over to WD4RNR. Brady, howdy. What will you allow from the northern front? Over.
Good afternoon. This is WD4RNR, Brady and Crawford. You know, I don't have a weather station yet, but I do have a couple of RTL SDR dongles that I use with Raspberry Pi and the open source software GQRX. And I like to use that because I just like to see the waterfall, see the signals, across the bands. And I actually got a from the last Cowtown Hamfest I went to. I picked up a RF transmit receive switch so that I could actually watch the signals and transmit at the same time. That switches back and forth, so it's kind of like a pan adapter. But other than that, it's beautiful here in Crawford. Hope everyone's enjoying the day. WD4RNR, back to net.
Sure glad to have you with us. And by the way, you do not have to take out a loan and go out and buy you a Pi. I have the Air Spy server running on a Libre Potato. No special nothing other than I did put a case. The potato is what, 35, 40 bucks, and the case is another 10. The potato will not run a lot of the ham software that the Pi does. So it's not a one-for-one, go buy you a potato, no. But in this one particular instance, I run Spy Server, which is RTL SDR. What Spy Server does, you hook your dongle to the Libre Pi, the Pi to the internet, or your LAN, whichever you'd like to do. If you got a static IP, port forward into it, or otherwise just on your net. And then a computer on your net can have the K5CRA or whichever receiver you want to run on it, and away you go. So that said, over to Paul. I know you were short time, but just on the off chance that you happen to be still available, go ahead and pick it up if you're there, Paul. Over. And Paul indeed was short time, so I've got KG5PTE and KD5WMV checked in via NetLogger. And at this time, I'll go ahead and see if there are any other late check-ins that like to join the 325 net. This is K5CRA, Steve at the mic, inviting late check-ins or anybody that I may have missed, rechecks or so forth, to join us now, and then we'll go ahead and pick up the comments from James and Shen. But right now, looking for more check-ins. Come now, please. Over.
Kilo Delta 5, Delta Golf Alpha, Glen, Mobile, and Colleen.
Okay, got you, Glenn. Well, it looked like it was kind of thin on the second round, but we'll still have another opportunity. Mr. James, welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us this afternoon. KG5PTE. Your thoughts for the net, over.
NU5D, KG5PT. I just texted you on almost instant messenger, and I was going to have you go to Shane first, but that's fine. Either way, I like to be very, very last. But I mean, I like to be on any net the caboose, and that is no kidding. I do like to be the caboose because I believe what the Lord says: the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. It's in the Bible. Anyway, I got a RTL SDR dongle here in my hand. It's got a little what do you call it? Connections for connecting to a USB port or an Android phone. It's NOOELC. ELEC is the brand name, and it says R820T SDR and DVD DVB-T. Toby Driscoll gave this to me. It does high frequency. And I am on the RTL.com, SDR-com website, and I'm seeing SDR number Windows free, HD SDR Windows free, SDR-radio.com version 3 free, SDR+++ free, Linrad, GQRX, Cubics, etc., etc. So which flavor of RTL SDR dongle software do I download? Maybe you can put that on the group's IO page and do a little attention to detail with that. I am with Dave, W5CSM. I use the Tempest weather flow system, which is accessible through my smartphone and accessible over the internet. So there you go. Back to net control, KG5PT. Thanks, Steve.
Glad you could be with us, James. Myself, I'm using SDR number sign or SDR sharp but I believe R&R, WD4 R&R, Brady was using the K5CRA, and I'm not sure which virtual receiver. A lot of them out there. The only one that I have firsthand with is the SDR Sharp, but I'm sure that if you have questions, we get into the rag shoe part, that other people will chip in and share with you on that. That being said, over to Mr. Thornton, KD5WMV. Your turn.
Hello, Steve, and everybody on the net. I use a La Crosse weather station technologies. I got it at Sam's Club. I've got the weather station part sitting up on the peak of the roof of the house where it's clear from the trees and stuff. And then it uses Wi-Fi to feed to my receiver here, and then it's got a separate temperature sensor. It really don't hook into anything else that I know of. I'd have to read the directions, but I think it's just self-contained. But I do look forward to getting into some of the other stuff like the digital stuff, Raspberry Pi, and all of that. I just haven't had a chance. I'm trying to catch up on my station, and I like just a little bit having my quad band going, and then a little bit on my HF, and that's my goal to get them done first. Back to you.
Yeah, thank you for being with us, Shen, and fine business on the La Crosse brand. I think maybe my neighbor up here, Bobby Sanders, had been running that. Seemed like that kind of sticks to mind, but I'm not sure. Anyhow, over to Mr. Glenn, who has the other spy server. Pick him up, Glenn. Tell us what you're using and a little bit of information on your SDR radio there. KD5DGA in the group. This is K5CRA. Steve at the mic. Your turn.
This is Kilo Delta 5, Delta Golf Alpha, Glenn, and Colleen. I have a bunch of them. The one that you listen to is actually an Air Spy R2 with a Spy burger. It's hooked to a really cheap old 1545 Dell standalone server. It works great. You've used it before. And that's not the only one I have. I have about 10 other RTLSDR.com version 3s. I got some from FlightAware. I also have an ELAD FDM SW2. And I also have an SDR Play RSP1A. And yes, SDR, there's a ton of programming out there, and it's all free. Depends if timed out on me. It just depends upon what you like. I've tried the Linux versions, and Windows versions are just easier to use, that's all. But I run a bunch of Pi 3Bs and Pi 4s.
Oh, real fine, Glenn. I had the RTL SDR on a Pi 4, but just for grins, I bought a couple of these little Libre potatoes, and, well, what the heck, download the software and see, and sure enough, it works fine. I don't think it's any better or any worse than on the Raspberry Pi, but it certainly is a lot cheaper to get into Libre Potato for that one particular application. And by the way, I found a bunch of Wise Slant Dell 3040s. They have a 7.8 gigabyte NMC solid state drive, solder in, Atom processor, and $28 missing the wall wart. But most any 5-volt to 12-volt wall wart, and you solder the two wires, one hot, one ground, at its own regulator. And you've got a very inexpensive, I've been running Debian 10 on them, but a very inexpensive computer to make servers or all-star nodes or whatever you feel like playing with. And I compiled MMDVM on one the other night and waiting on a outside STM32 board to hook to it. So that'll make a multi-mode hotspot. Anyhow, that said, we've gone through the first round of check-ins. Anybody else with a recheck? And by the way, Jim, Q&I had to take the batteries out of my lightning alert. The little puppy dog was going nuts over that thing, so removing the batteries shut it down. That being said, anybody else like to join us for the 325 net? This is K5CRA. Steve at the mic. Rechecks, late check-ins, come now. Over.
K5CRA. Repeater.
KG5QNI, recheck.
Go ahead, Jim, over.
Oh, just acknowledging your battery removal. Yes, by all means. I love the radio, but the constant alarms during some, thunderstorms that were obviously on top of you was a little bit irritating, or a little bit more than irritating. Okay, back to you, Net Control, KG5, QNI.
Oh, well, it was funny. Without hearing aids, I didn't hear it, but the little puppy dog was just going. She was already prepared with impending weather, and that added to the fuel. So, anyhow, that's it. Anybody else would like to join us? Any questions, comments? This is your net, your time. Come now. One more time. Anybody that has anything else to add to the Five Hills 325 net? Your turn.
This is KI5ZTI. Are you officially opening up for rag chew, Steve?
By all means, yes, sir. Rag chew, rechecks, you name it, wide open. Go for it.
This is KI5ZTI. Yeah, it was a little late getting up this morning. Heard about that accident on I-14 westbound. Does anybody know what the traffic's like currently? Are they going to be closing that down? I heard there might be having to resurface that. So anybody got any information out there, please let me know. Over.
With info, come now. Sorry about that, Chris. Kind of like dipping a bucket in a dry well. I was being over here in Gatesville. I'm not aware of a lot of the things that happen over there, but sure hate that there was an accident, and sounds like it was a bad scene.
Roger, that what I read was that a tanker truck with 8,500 gallons of fuel exploded, and they just let it burn so it wouldn't go into the water and pollute a lot of things there. I guess the driver was killed, and other people were injured, but they're going to be okay. But I heard that they may be closing it down and have to resurface. I don't know what the traffic's like there now, but I just thought I'd throw it out there and see if anybody had any info on that. So be careful when you're going westbound on I-14 from around, I think it was Patty Hamilton, around that exit there. Over.
Thanks for sharing with us, and man, 8,000 gallons of fuel, that would be horrible. Okay, anyone else? Rag chew, comments, lake check-ins, your turn.
KG5 FKY.
Okay, got Cliff and James. Go ahead, Cliff, and then James to follow. Go ahead, Cliff.
I happened to visit the OxyClean auction house and talk to K5CRA's dad. He got home Saturday about 2 in the morning, and he is at home. I did make contact with James today. He's tired. He had chemo on Friday, and he's got surgery in the near future, but it's going to be done in Temple, and I don't know the exact date yet, but the auction went well for him. Back to you.
Thank you, Cliff. And I was thinking maybe something as a club, the Cove Repeater Association might be able to do cooperatively to support those endeavors. But we can bring that up at another time, just something to be thinking about. 85 FKY, your turn.
Hey, Steve, K85 FKY. Well, you got me over here looking things up. On SourceForge, a website called SourceForge, they have a Windows version of USDR. Do you know, are you familiar with any of that, the download?
Very familiar with SourceForge and GitHub, but not that particular application. Anyone have any firsthand on that particular SDR? Come down. For myself, James, off the AirSpy website, I downloaded SDR with a number sign called SDR Sharp, and it's two pieces. That's the radio. Then it can hook to a local dongle. They're plugged into your computer, or I'm doing something different. My dongle's outside at another location, and I connect to it by internet. You can either plug the dongle, the little RTL SDR, into the computer, hook up the SMA, that's a sub-miniature A connector, hook that up to it, or to save coax, I have my receiver out at another location, and I use the network cable internet router to get to it. But SDR Sharp is the one that I've been using, and fairly simple, and it works pretty well. Anyone else with anything on the topic? Come now.
Put a link on your website, Steve, KG5PT.
Okay, it's on the nu5d.org. Just type in AirSpy, and you'll find it. I can put it on. I'm fixing to close the net here in a little bit, so it won't be on the AIM very long, but if you look at nu5d.org, and by the way, some people mentioned having trouble. Don't use www, but instead http:// nu5d.org, and I've got the links for those different SDR stuff over there. Anything else?
Where's that again? Steve, you changed up your page. I can't find
all of
anything.
you for participating in the Five Hills 325 net. It has been an honor to serve you. This is K5CRA. I now declare this net closed. 7-3.
I'm sorry, James, I hit the button and then we doubled. I apologize. What was about my webpage? KG5PTE, this is NU5D. What were you saying about the web page, over?